Live.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Dhaval. I'm a part of the Public Relations and Media team here at SJMSOM School of Management, IIT Bombay. So the six of us are all first-year MBA students over here, and we have kept this webinar keeping in mind the deadline, which is approaching soon. So the application forms would be closing at 31st January 2023. So we have organized this webinar to take you through all the basic questions you might have about the application process. So we'll be addressing the FAQs we have been receiving. We'll be taking you through the admissions timeline. Then we'll be sharing our interview experiences with all of you. We'll be sharing with you how we went about preparing for our PI. And then in the end, we'll be taking questions from the YouTube chat and some of the questions we have received from the Google form. So with this, I'll let all of us to introduce themselves one by one. So Abhimanyu, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm Abhimanyu Yadav. I come from a military background, my father being in the Air Force. Prior to doing my MBA, I did my BTech in Electronics and Communications Engineering from VIT Vellore. And VIT Vellore was part of various clubs and chapters, and my hobbies include playing basketball and tennis.
Thank you, Abhimanyu. Ayush?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ayush Sharma. I'm from Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh, and I did my BTech from NIT Allahabad in Mechanical Engineering in 2019. Then I joined Hero MotoCorp as an assistant manager in the maintenance department, and I was working there for about 30 months. And then I joined SJMSOM IIT Bombay.
So I'll go ahead next. So I'm Dhaval. I'm a first year student here at SJMSOM IIT Bombay. Prior to joining MBA, I did my BTech from VIT Vellore, where I graduated from mechanical engineering. And post that, I have 20 months of work ex in IT sector, where I was primarily working in the data engineering part of the project. Yeah, so Kalyani.
Hello, I am Kalyani Badekar. I come from Pune, Maharashtra. I've completed my engineering in the mechanical stream from Pune University. I graduated in 2019. After that, I worked for around 2.5 years with Mahindra & Mahindra in the field of analytics and operations.
Thank you. Rishika.
Hello everyone, my name is Rishika Jain. I'm from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. I have done my graduation in BTech Mechatronics Engineering from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. Post that, I joined Quest Global Engineering Services as an instrumentation engineer, and I have a work experience of 31 months in oil and gas domain.
Yeah, and Rishabh.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. I'm Rishabh. I did my BTech in civil engineering from BITS Pilani in 2019. Post that, I joined PwC as a consultant and worked there for around 3 years before joining here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we have student representatives from the admissions teams over here. They'll be sharing us about the eligibility criteria, what are the important timelines for the application process, and so on. So I'll hand over to Ayush to address about the eligibility criteria. He'll take.
Sure, Dhaval. So for the eligibility criteria is already out and it's on the website. So you can check the website for phase 1 shortlisting and you'll get all the details over there. For any queries, you can contact us. So the second thing majorly is about that the number of months of education after your 10th standard, after 10 plus 2, which is 48 months of education qualification, which is required. So for example, if you have done a diploma of 3 years after 10th, and 3 years of undergraduation, that counts as a 48 months of education qualification and you are eligible for that. Thirdly, there's a very big myth that only engineers are allowed at SJMSOM, which is not true at all. Anybody from any discipline can apply, so you're eligible for that. Next, for the timelines, I'll hand over to Kalyani.
Thank you, Ayush. So as Dhaval mentioned, the form will be closing on 31st January 2023. After that, we would be releasing an initial interview shortlist in February, and the interviews would be tentatively conducted in the first week of March, and we would be releasing the final calls in the month of May. Over to you, Rishika.
Thank you, Kalyani. So we have some common queries that students have been mailing us or asking us over the call. So one of them is like how a dual degree student can apply for the form. So you can see dual degree qualification mentioned there. Even you can see graduation, for example, if you are BTech plus MTech, so you can fill BTech in graduation and MTech in post-graduation. And cumulative, your degree should be more than or equal to 48 months. You will be eligible to apply. Next common query that we have been receiving is that how a student should fill their CGPA in the form. So if you have CGPA given by your institute, your graduation institute, you should mention your CGPA as it is. Or if you have been given the percentage, and if you want to fill percentage in the form, you should give us the conversion certificate that is provided by the institute. So these are some of the common questions that we have been receiving, and we wanted to address them.
Yeah, thank you, Rishika. Next, we'll be sharing our interview experiences with you all. So we'll be hoping that maybe you can gain some insights from them, and it will help you prepare for the upcoming PI season, not only for SJMSOM, maybe for your other dream B schools. So we'll start with that. Rishabh, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I'll share my interview experience. So all in all, it was majorly about my work experience. So specifically, I had worked for 3 years in the consulting domain. So they basically asked me about what projects I did, how did I approach them. They also gave me specifically a fresh situation and asked me to use my current knowledge to give them an approach. How would I approach it? Apart from that, they also asked me about my internships. I had done finally an internship again at PwC. They asked me what project I did and how did I approach it there. Apart from that, I was asked about my hobbies and interests. So specifically, I had mentioned reading and writing. So whatever the candidates mentioned, they might be questioned on that. So they asked me about that. We had a good conversation on books as well, because one of the panelists was also of the same idea. And apart from that, they also asked me a few questions about general business acumen regarding business knowledge or what current affairs are there currently. So specifically, Russia, Ukraine, and those issues were dominating at that point in time. So you can see other current affairs which are currently there, and you might be questioned on that. So I was all in all, in a nutshell, I was questioned 70% around work experience and the remaining around my hobbies and general business knowledge.
Yeah, so in contrast to Rishabh, who has over 30 months of work ex, we have Abhimanyu, who is a fresher. So we'll be going through his interview experience now.
Okay, as Dhaval already mentioned, I'm a fresher. So I feel as a fresher, your most important weapon is your introduction. The way you drive your interview stands on this introduction. So my SJMSOM interview experience was in the way, like in SJMSOM interview, you are divided on the basis of your UG degree, and the professors have a knowledge about that. The other thing was, during my introduction, I kind of said a lot about my hobbies, which probably piqued the interest of my interviews. And a major chunk of my interview was on my hobbies itself. He wanted to know the business applications of my hobby. I'll give you context. My hobbies was online gaming. So he wanted to know, during the lockdown, is this industry growing? How am I following this? What are my viewpoints on this? And other way around. Then it revolved into asking some quants questions and a little bit of GK. And after that, the alums were kind of wanted to gauge what kind of fit I would be and what unique perspective I'll be bringing to the table in the MBA class. They want to kind of encapture every different personality in the program they want to intake for. So being clear on why you want to do an MBA, and if you have a gap year, which I had, answering these questions would help you a lot and not fumble at the D-Day.
Yeah, thank you, Abhimanyu. I think that would be helpful for a lot of freshers and people who are having gap year. Next, we'll go with Kalyani.
So my interview was very conversational, and it revolved a lot around my work and my undergraduate stream, which was mechanical. As I've worked greatly in the engine domain in the automotive industry, the panel asked me a lot of questions about the same and how the industry is shaping. Also, they asked me some conceptual questions about automotive and some basic quantitative ability questions, which they expected me to be thorough with. There was a touch of philosophy to my interview as well, because I believe one of the panelists had that as his interest, and some questions about my hobbies. Lastly, they asked me a series of questions about general knowledge and current affairs and basic facts which one should be aware of. So it was a very engaging interview for me.
Yeah, Rishika.
So my interview experience started with my work experience questions. So the interviewer asked me around what kind of work I was doing and how important it was for the company and what kind of responsibilities I had during my work experience. I also had a small business. So basically, my majority of my interview revolved around that. They asked me questions about my business, what I did, how I did that, and how I operate my business, how I manage it, and what are the concepts that I believe for my business. So one of the key point that I had from my interview was, if you are an entrepreneur or if you have some kind of business, family business or anything, you should be thorough with it. You should know the concepts behind it and what you are doing in all domains. So majority of my interview was around my work experience and my business.
Yeah, so that was a very different interview experience which Rishika had. Next, we'll go with Ayush.
Yes, so my interview was divided into three parts. The first part being related to my work experience in Hero, and they asked me a lot about my responsibilities, my role, and how my day started, and things related to experience itself. And then they went on to ask me about the second part was related to understanding that why do I want to leave my job and why do I want to do an MBA, and especially from SJMSOM. They also asked me questions related to marketing, wherein I mentioned in my introduction that I have an interest towards that. So I was asked and grilled a lot upon marketing as well because I was from an operations background. The third part was quite interesting, and it was one of the most unique parts, I would say, from other interviews of mine, which was an alum showed me the images of various figures which were related to my BTech degree of mechanical engineering. A lot of images of various things like lathe machine, walls, carbide diagrams, and many things were shown to me, and I was asked and grilled upon several questions like these. So that was about my interview.
So I'll briefly share my interview experience as well. So my interview panel consisted of one faculty over here who teaches us OB and one alum. I wasn't specifically asked about any academic subjects, but it revolved about a lot of philosophy and psychology. So I was asked about the various character personality traits which I have and what was the role of the family and society which I shared with and how they helped me in developing those qualities or traits. Then I was grilled about my work ex. So basic questions which all of you must be preparing. The relevance of your work ex, your day-to-day activities, how they affect the overall business and so on. Next, since I mentioned that my hobbies was playing football and I passionately follow football as well. So I was grilled on who I consider as my idol. I mentioned Zinedine Zidane. So it went on to a very different trajectory that what is his descent. So although he plays from the French team, he's of Algerian descent. So then it shifted on what is the capital of Algeria. Then it gravitated towards which is the body which comes in between Africa and Europe. So that's how your interview may go on into unpredictable trajectories, but keeping your sense, keeping you, I mean, you have to be on the spot. You have to think on the spot, and you can handle that. So that's overall about my experience. And another thing is we have a very unique thing at SJMSOM, which is the Gather platform. It is very unique. It is a very gamified interview experience, and Rishabh would be sharing more about that with us.
Sure. So it was a very unique thing for me. It was it still is there in my memory. So it was a very intuitive platform. We were made to gather at a place. That's why it's called Gather. And from there on, it uses spatial audio, wherein it has certain spaces and built in the screen itself. You can navigate to certain spaces, and it will have its function accordingly. So overall, it was a very easy to use platform, very intuitive platform. You can navigate around very easily, and all the students were made together. We could also speak to each other there and with our buddies as well. So overall, it was very smooth, intuitive, and it still has etched a specific memory in my mind. And I think such processes interests you, like when you go through such a good process, it has it gives you something in your mind. So that stood out for me, and that's why I still remember about the Gather platform.
Yeah, thank you, Risha.
I'd like to add on to that while we were like waiting in the queues, we had the shows like Mr. Bean show and Tom and Jerry shows going on for the people who are waiting for their turn to come for the interview. So I think people who will be coming for the interview, they'll have a good time at SJMSOM.
Yeah, definitely. So we, all of us had a
one more thing, Dhaval. So those who are having difficulty in grasping how the Gather platform would actually look, it's kind of a video version of a real life Pokemon game. So you are playing a real Pokemon game, and you'll be interacting with only those icons around you. Those have their avatars near you. So that is just a visual representation of how Gather might look like for you.
And also, it's not like something that you'll be left on your own. You will be assigned PI buddies who will take you through the process. They'll guide you through every step of the way. So rest assured that you'll be having a good time. You'll enjoy the overall experience, and it would be a memorable experience. Okay. So now that we have discussed about the interview experience, we'll share about the most basic and the most important question of all, why MBA? So this question comes into the mind of every one of us. It's still it requires a lot of introspection on your part, because what you say actually drives the interview. It has the potential to basically make or break your interview. So we'll be discussing more about why MBA, how different personalities or coming from different backgrounds may give different answers for why MBA. Okay, so we'll go ahead with Ayush.
So for this question, why MBA, I think you really need to know your bit. You can't just guess around it. What you need to do is you need to make yourself convinced with that answer. Only then you will be able to make others believe in it. So I think it will be good if you are able to relate it to your life experiences, your goals, your aspirations, something which is very integral to you. If that you can do, and it becomes best when you can weave that into a form of a story. So that is where I think it becomes very important to in answering this question of called why MBA, and that is how you can add on to your answers others also.
Yeah, Rishika.
So my advice for why MBA would be similar to Ayush's. It is very important for you to believe in yourself and why you are doing MBA, why you want to pursue MBA, and what your ultimate motivation is, what your ultimate goal is. And you just have to communicate the same to the interviewer so that he or she can understand why you want to pursue this. And this is how you should frame. And as Ayush said, it should be in the form of story. It would give a better impact on to the interviewer, and that will be, I think, the best answer to why MBA. You should be true to yourself.
Yes, Abhimanyu.
So answering this why MBA question was also very perplexing for me as well while I was preparing. So the thing that helped me is I've tried to find my why MBA and relate it to what my goals in life are. Once you are able to say that doing an MBA would be a fast track to achieving my goals, it would be more convincing. And also saying the limitations you have faced without having a formal education in business, and finding up situations like being part of various clubs and chapters, or having your own startup, let's say, and how not having an MBA probably dissuaded you from doing these things, and how MBA can help. So having clarity on these would definitely help drive your point that you are passionate about doing an MBA.
Thank you, Abhimanyu, for sharing that. Rishabh?
Sure. So I feel this is the most important and possibly the most dreaded question as well. But it is a fantastic chance of presenting yourself. So my 2 cents would be that try to create a bridge between your past, present, and future. Whatever you have done in your undergraduation, even before that, try to pick up points from there. I think this question is about creative writing. You need to just sit and introspect what points were there. Pick the same things can be put into new ways. So try to pick points from your undergraduation specifically, as someone also mentioned about clubs, departments, activities you did. Try to bring them and form a picture which links your career goal which you have with what you have done. So why MBA basically revolves around what is your goal and how will MBA help you. So try to figure out points from your past, try to link them with how MBA will help you, how that specific institution will help you, and then bridge it on to what you want to do in your future. This creating this bridge will definitely help you in giving a proper answer to this question. So this is my piece of advice on this.
Yeah, that was quite insightful from Rishabh. Next, we'll have Kalyani.
So as everyone has said before me, it is important to link your stories from what you have been doing in the past to what you want to do in the future. One point which I would like to add here is it would really help if you state some examples or incidents from your life which actually prompted you to take this decision. For example, if there is someone you look up to, or if there's someone in your organization or in your college who actually went down this path and that prompted you to take this decision, you can weave a story about it, and it would actually create a lot of impact in your answer.
Yeah. So the specific thing about SJMSOM's application is that you have to fit that answer about why MBA in 100 words. So make sure that every word which you put in has a lot of weightage. It adds something of value, because 100 words would possibly have the impact to drive the interview. You can leave hooks in that particular sentence around how you would like that interview to go forward, and that would basically help you in the process, maybe when you find yourself in a con. So coming to the application form which we have at SJMSOM, we have 2 or 3 descriptive questions as well, which are stating your biggest achievements, your hobbies and interests, and maybe some experience from your education and work ex which you would share and which would basically boost your profile. So we'll have a discussion around that. We'll start with Abhimanyu.
So talking about the biggest achievement question. So one thing while answering any of these VAQ type questions would be using the most widely known STAR approach, in which you first tell the situation, what you did, what approach you follow, and the result to it. So for weaving it to the biggest achievement question, I think having a biggest achievement in this needs to be very niche and very edgy for your own personality. Like niche in the sense that it cannot be a achievement that was prolonged over a 1 or 2 year span. You can't say your BTech was your biggest achievement. You need to make it very personal to you, something that you felt in which you overcome a pretty big challenge. And your main goal of this question would be stating how big that challenge was, how you overcome it, and what are your parting thoughts from it, and how has that shaped your personality now. So I believe these 4 points would really help you find the situation you need and mold it to your liking.
Yeah, Kalyani.
In the section wherein you're supposed to talk about your education experience or your work experience, a particular project which actually added a lot of value to your experience creates a very insightful answer, and what that project taught you and how it actually shaped your personality. This could be any event. Same goes for your hobbies and interests as well. Because in particular, when we talk about a certain hobby, we tend to be very passionate about it, which tells the interviewer a lot about our personality. So mentioning the same would really help a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Rishabh?
Yes, on the biggest achievement, my suggestion would be to, for example, I picked up a situation from my project in my work experience and built around that. So as mentioned earlier also, it should not be a very prolonged one. It should be a short and crisp one wherein you are able to see your goals as well. And one thing I would like to add, apart from what is being shared, is that for your biggest achievement, it doesn't have to be like you have to think it should be a very big achievement or something great which I've done. It can be a normal event, and it can be put into such a way that it was a challenge for you and you're able to present it. How did you overcome that? That is also a big achievement. It's not that it has to be something on the external side only. It can be internal as well. Just try to build it into a story, and specifically experience situations are preferred, but anyways you can pick up any situation and just weave it in a way that it seems to be your biggest achievement.
Yeah, thank you, Rishabh. Rishika?
So I think most of the points have already been covered with my fellow mates. One point that I would like to add is it is not compulsory that it should be a project or any tangible thing that you have done in your past. It can be your experience as well. For example, there is some situation that you have faced, you have come through that situation and you have evolved through it. So it can be your biggest achievement. You can mention what changes it made in your life, in your personality, and what impact it had on you. So this is also one of the biggest achievement that you can mention in this answer.
Yeah. And Ayush, would you like to add any point?
Yes, so for me, it was always an approach which I followed was answering these questions in a structured manner, wherein I used first context, whatever I'm trying to say. Then second is what I did into that. What was my in what was the thing which I wanted to add in that. And third was related to the result, that what happened and what impact it caused. Similarly, I had the achievement related to some social initiatives which I did in my college days. So that was what I added, and I think that some things related to any aspect, it's not going only to your work experience, something, it can be related to any social impact also that you created. You can also add that into your biggest achievements. Similarly, for I think these answers have a lot of value, because in my interview, the second part of my interview was around these questions only. They picked up some answers from my YMBA, and when I gave some answers, they cross questioned me onto the written part, as it was a little different from the terms which I spoke. So it's very important that you have a proper understanding of what you're writing in these questions. These have to be mentioned and should be aligned to your goals as well.
Yeah. So just like Ayush mentioned, the section about hobbies and interests, that also adds a very different dimension about your personality, because up to that point, basically all the information which the panelists might have would be your educational background and what basically drives you to do MBA. But sharing something about your hobbies and interests would basically convey to them that you can add something of value to the classroom you'll be part of, and that has the power to convince them that yes, they want to be to a part of that classroom. So we'll just quickly go around the panel, and maybe you guys can share how the hobbies and interest actually helped you to drive the interview. So we'll start with Rishabh.
Sure. So hobbies and interests particularly played a significant role for me. I was also asked to recite a poem, so I had mentioned reading and writing. So they question on what books I read, what did I learn from them. So whenever you mention a hobby, just have some data or some information to back it, like what you have done, or if you're mentioning some sport, have some player you follow, something like that. So you should be backing it up with something. So that is what hobbies do play a great role. Reading and writing both I mentioned. They asked me about poems. What authors do I follow? I also mentioned writing, so they asked me to recite as well. And interest, I think overall hobbies and interests play a significant role. You can drive the interview also in that direction. In your introduction, if you mention some significant hobby, or if the interviewer, syncs with that, so it will play in your advantage. So you should definitely keep a good amount of information and preparation for hobbies and interests. It gives you the chance to drive the interview.
Yeah. Kalyani.
So I'd mentioned two hobbies actually. One of them was reading and the other one was knitting. So when it came to reading, the interviewer asked a very unique question. Actually, what was the book you read which you absolutely hated? So it actually prompted me to think and go back. What was and why did I actually hate it? So it was a very interesting conversation. And secondly, when it came to knitting, he actually asked that, for example, when you're knitting a scarf or a mitten, then it requires a lot of patience. So how did this quality help you in your work life? So these kind of questions actually tell what you do outside your work or outside your education and how they've been adding value to your life.
Yeah. Ayush.
Yes, so my hobby, I've mentioned that I love traveling. So he started asking me question that it is a COVID era, so you can't travel. So what do you do in terms of that? So I had different answers related to places where I can go near around. And then he started asking me questions related to like he went on from the personal level to and business level, where he asked me that there are many startups which are coming in terms of traveling also. So would you want to start one and join one or something like that? So I was questioned a lot on my these on hobbies and all. So I think you need to develop one, and if you don't have, and if you have, then you need to have a clear idea as to what all it is and where else do you want to take it through.
Yeah, so I'll just add to it that 1 or 2 months is a short span of time to basically develop a new hobby. And if you mention something like that, it would be very apparent to the interview. So basically, you don't have to bluff about it. Just stay genuine in your application forms, and that would be good to go. So we'll next have Abhimanyu.
As I already mentioned in my interview experience, hobbies was the major driver in my interview. So building on what Dhaval said, do not lie about what you do in your hobbies. Just don't follow the herd in saying that everyone reads books, so I'll also say I read this book. The interview is really looking forward to knowing you personally. So when you say you read books, it piques his interest and he'll start asking you a lot of questions on that. So I believe everyone has done something or the other which he or she can mention in their hobbies. And this is the part of the interview where your eyes should light up and you should be really open to speaking for long periods of time about your hobby. So that is my advice for the hobby stage.
One thing I'll say that all they actually want to know about while asking these questions is that what are your major learnings from these? Like if you have a hobby, what is the learning that you gaining from it? What is the change that you can bring to the society, and what is that you think is really really important after having that hobby? So that is one thing that's very important. You don't only need to have or you have hobby, so you need to have the learnings also from that, and that is what you need to prepare about. That what are you learning from it, and how you can use it to improve the society and bring about an impact.
Yeah, thank you, Ayush. Rishika.
So as I've already mentioned that my interview revolved around my business. So my business was also related to my hobby, that is painting. So I mentioned two hobbies, that is one was painting and one was dancing. So regarding my painting, I explained them how I built upon to it and how I started my business and how I was operating it at that time. They also asked me about what my future plans were for my business, for which I told them that I would want to expand it. But after doing MBA, after gaining a lot of knowledge from MBA, I would want to expand my business. So, like, this is one of the things that I connected to my MBA, and I drove my interview around it. Apart from that, I mentioned dancing as well. So for that, I told them that I participated in various dance competitions and how it has evolved me as a person, how it evolved my personality and gave me confidence, immense amount of confidence to face a lot of people in front of me. So like hobbies are something that you should have, and you should be able to explain them what it impacts you and how it impacts you basically.
Yeah. So I'd just like to add that basically you should go 3 to 4 layers deep whenever you are preparing about your hobbies, because it is something that is a part of you, and they will definitely cross question you on whatever you are trying to say. So for example, let's say I'm a fan of Real Madrid Football Club. So they'll ask what were the famous players who played for Real Madrid, what were their contribution. They can ask who were the various coaches and their timelines and so on. So that actually shows whether you are actually following that hobby passionately, the interest that you have you actually developed it over the years, and that would add a sense of integrity to your answers, a sense of genuinity, and would basically add to your overall PI value. Yeah. So I think we had a great deal of conversation about the various questions which can possibly be asked in the PI. Next, we have a set of questions we received from the MBA aspirants. So we'll be taking them one by one. So we have a question from Anil, and he asks us that what is the weightage given to graduation subjects in SJMSOM interviews? So anyone would like to take that up?
So I'd say that I had already a work experience of 30 months, and still I was questioned a lot about my BTech subjects, which were mechanical engineering stream. So you need to be clear with the concepts. You need to understand. You really need to have a proper knowledge of it, and it's not that you can you just brush it up, but you really need to understand every concept, whatever you are saying in the interview. And for if your question is about weightage in terms of shortlisting, then you can go to the eligibility criteria, which is mentioned on the website, and you can have a view of it.
Adding on to Ayush's points, I think this point already came up during the interview experience. SJMSOM kind of separates you in the basis of batches of based on your background. So let's say you are an EC engineer, all the people in your panel will be EC engineers, and we'll try to match the alums who are in this interviews from that specific background. So you can't bluff your way out of knowing things. You need to be thorough with what all you have learned in your graduation, and have a basic understanding of how it applies to you and how you will be able to apply it in the industry.
Yeah, thank you, Abhimanyu. Next, we have a question from Muskan, and I think Abhimanyu would be the best fit for it. So she asked that she has graduated in 2022 and she has a gap year. So basically, you can guide her about how she can go about the interview, and is it fine if she does not have a concrete plan, or should she make up a story?
Okay, so first thing relating to anything, let's say, be it a gap year or why you want to do an MBA. At the one thing you need to remember is at the end it was your choice. As long as you are okay with it, you are not guilty of maybe want to hide it. There's no way the interviewer can question why you chose this or why you chose that, because as I said, it is your life. So one thing I tried to do while explaining what my gap year did was I tried to show the change in perspective it gave to me. Like I did not do any kind of course or was involved in any kind of project for my gap year. I traveled a bit. I interacted with my family, and I learned, picked up one or two new hobbies. So as long as you are justified that what you did was effective use of time, it was important for your mental, and it helped you kind of gain unique perspective, and that and get that clarity of thought, that should be enough to convince the interviewer that you have done all this, and now you're ready with the decision to pursue this degree going forward.
Yeah. Next, we have a question from Shaunak, who would like to ask about the opportunities at SOM in the finance domain. So yeah, anyone can take that up.
Yeah, so SOM actually provides plenty of opportunities in all domains, as the degree provided is a Master of Business Administration, General Management. We are given opportunities to explore all domains, and there are courses and electives pertaining to each. Also, one is free to choose his or her specialization in the second year, wherein they can actually take subjects of their interests. So finance is definitely an option at SJMSOM.
Thank you, Kalyani. Okay, so we had a question from Ram, who asked us about interview preparation tips, but I think we have covered a lot about that. Okay, so I think this is a very common question from Akshita, and it is basically related to the previous question as well, which specialization is best. So I'll just add to that, coming to SOM, it's not necessary that you should have a specialization in mind. It is perfectly fine to have an open view about the various domains which are on offer at SOM, because you will be exploring a lot. You will be experiencing firsthand about these courses, and it could basically happen that maybe you had an inclination towards one domain, but the experience over here has made you pivot towards the other domain. So I would just suggest that have an open view, have an open mindset, and that would help you a lot.
So there is one question related that will the process be online or offline? So I like to answer that the process will be online. PI process will entirely be on online, and it will be on the Gather platform.
Thank you, Ayush, for taking that up.
And as earlier mentioned already, that you need to have a 48 months of education qualification after a 10+2 degree. And if you if you have a diploma, that is if you have a diploma after 10th, which is of 3 years, and then you get admission into second year of an undergraduate degree, which makes it till fourth year. So you have an education degree of 48 months now, so that makes you eligible. Less than that is not eligible. And the important thing was that only engineers are allowed is a myth. Anyone and everyone can apply from any discipline.
Yeah, thank you, Ayush, again for taking that up. Yeah, so next we have a question from Adit, who says that the registered intake is 152, but why is the batch size around 115? So I would say that it also depends upon the composite score, which all the candidates have. It is not that we have set, so there's a basically a set of eligibility criteria which we follow at SOM, but candidates have to make sure that they basically fulfill all of those criteria. And in the case that some of them do not meet any of those criteria, the seats go vacant. So that is the case which you mentioned over here. I think that would address your question. Any more questions which you guys see on the YouTube chat?
One thing that Ayush mentioned about the eligibility criteria, not just diploma courses, also people from who are doing non-science bachelors, as long as it's a 4-year course, you are eligible to apply.
Yeah, thank you, Abhimanyu, for clarifying that. All right. So I think we had a very good discussion about the overall experience, and basically we also cleared some myths about the interview and the selection criteria of SJMSOM. I think it would be very insightful to the MBA aspirants. It would be really helpful for their journey ahead. And before ending the session, we should maybe any one sentence of advice you would like to share with the candidates, that would be cool. So we'll start with Abhimanyu.
So my only thoughts of motivation would be clear about yourself and believe in yourself.
Thanks. Kalyani?
I would say before going for the interviews, introspect, be clear why you want to do this degree, and then show the same in the interview. That is sufficient.
Rishika?
So from my end, it would be believe in yourself, know yourself, what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do, and communicate that, express that to the interviewer, and you'll surely make it to one of the top institutes.
Yeah. Rishabh?
Yeah, so my addition would be that develop conviction in whatever you're speaking and presenting in interviews and beyond. Just one offbeat addition here about the ecosystem, which I wanted to say earlier, that one of the unique advantages which you'll have at the School of Management would be the entire IITB ecosystem. You will see an extended dimension of a lot of activities here, be it sports, be it studies, be it any other electives you want to pursue, be it other hobbies as well. So I think you can leverage the entire ecosystem which is there here. We have, for example, if I take the ECell, the entrepreneurship cell of IIT Bombay, it is there, like you integrate with them, you collaborate with them. So School of Management has a collaboration with the ECell, and similarly you have many other opportunities there in sport, in terms of cultural festivals, sports festivals, other activities. We have Mood Indigo, people might be knowing. So all those activities are there which you can very well leverage. That is one of the points which is unique here only. So I just wanted to mention that point here. Yeah, that would be it.
Thank you for that, Rishabh. Ayush?
So I'll say that you whichever college you are applying and wherever you're going to give the interview, just visit the website, see what all is there, check. You can see what alums have done, so that it gives you a perspective about the college also, and just be the way you are, and you're going to rock the interview.
Yeah. So I'll just add that you should always keep a calm head in your interviews. There may come situations that you would not be prepared for. But be ready to think on your feet. Basically, since you are aspiring to be managers, you should be able to come out of a tricky spot, and that is what the interviews would be looking for. So hoping to see all of you here in the admission process, and also hopefully see you guys in the batch of SOM 25. So thank you guys. Thank you for being a part of the webinar, and
I'll just say that my Ayush Sharma and Rishika Jain's number is already available on the website. We are the student representatives from the admissions team. So for any further queries, if you have, you can visit the website and you can contact us for any further queries. The deadline for the form is 31st January, and the deadline will not be extended. So all the very best, and we'll see you with the interviews.
Yeah, and for that matter, you can contact any one of us through LinkedIn or any of our batchmates as well. We'll be more than happy to help you all through the process. Thank you.